minutes after 9 o'clock today, we received a call of domestic violence, 2400 block of Brand Street. Our initial officers that responded were trying to make an approach to the apartment complex, and when they came up to the door of the apartment, which was on the top of the building, it's kind of an older building, the elevator takes them to the top, they walk on the top roof, they get up to the apartment, they began to take several rounds from what we believe is a high-powered rifle at this point. The rounds very nearly hit the officers. We're talking within inches, right by the officers.
This is Lieutenant Scott Wahl briefing us on what precipitated this.
The officers were able to safely retreat, set up a perimeter around the apartment. We do have them contained in the apartment, which is on the southeast corner of the building. So what we've asked all the media to help us out with is to have the residents in the neighboring homes, the neighboring apartments, to shelter in place and not go in front of their windows or come out into their backyards or their front door, as we believe he's armed with a very high-powered rifle, and they're safe inside their apartment or their home, but they come out into the streets or in their yard, it's very possible that they could be struck.
This man has been firing shots, correct?
Yes. Immediately when the officers arrived on scene, they began taking rounds when they approached the apartment. When I got here, 20 minutes later, he was still firing rounds. I haven't heard any rounds in the last 10-15 minutes. We're still actively trying to mitigate the situation and use every option available to try to make this situation come to a peaceful resolution.
Have you been able to make contact with him through a negotiator, through the phone? And oh, by the way, there was a woman taken into at least questioned in the police car. Has she been helpful? So
we do have maximum amount of our resources deployed in this situation. We have our SWAT team, which is surrounding the entire apartment. We also have our emergency negotiation team on scene, and we're exhausting every effort to try to bring this to a very peaceful resolution. We have no information on any injuries at this point. Again, this is all very preliminary information. This incident is still rapidly evolving as we speak right now, but we want to try to get the important information to you that we need the residents to shelter in place. We have them contained. But if people start coming out of their homes, it's going to create some problems for us.
Have you identified the suspect?
The suspect is known at this point. I don't have a confirmation on his name. We are still doing some background checks on this person and trying to do everything we can to get him to peacefully surrender at this point. So we don't
Without giving anything away in terms of tactics, can you be more specific about containment?
So when we talk about containment, we want to try to have all avenues of escape taken away so that this person cannot continue to create problems. So we have him safely pinned into his apartment where he cannot get out. But again, if you're anywhere through the windows, it is possible with a high-powered rifle that we could have some injuries if people come out of their homes.
So communication with him?
We are doing everything we can to try to communicate with him. Those discussions are going on right now.
I understand he was reached on cell phone and said, just kill me.
I have no confirmation of what the negotiations were.
But you are speaking with him on the cell phone.
We're doing everything we can to try to communicate with him. And the status of what those communications are at this point, I don't have.
Are you in a situation where right now you can stop? What if he decides to fire again? Is that not possible now at this point?
So, again, what we're trying to do is bring this to a peaceful resolution. We've safely contained the shooter, and we're trying to make sure that we don't have any injuries. So we're doing everything we can to safely bring this to a peaceful resolution.
His state of mind is obviously a major concern.
Obviously, peace of mind is something that we take into concern.
We're hearing shots again. Are those shots or are those flashbangs, or can you kind of clarify that?
So we do have our SWAT team on scene. I know that we've deployed some gas into the apartment to try and use some non-lethal measures to bring this to a peaceful resolution, and it does sound very similar to gunfire. But as we've all heard since we've been out here, he has been actively firing sporadically throughout this incident.
We are hearing noise as we speak.
Yes.
Can you be more specific about the nature of that noise?
Well, it's hard to tell without being up where the sound is coming from, but it could be gas that's being deployed, it could be rounds being fired. Like I said, we've had multiple rounds being fired from that apartment, and that's why we need everybody to stay inside their homes.
So no hostages right now?
We don't believe we have any hostages at this point. Again, this is all preliminary information. We believe that we have one barricaded suspect inside of the apartment.
You said it was a domestic violence also. What did escape?
So officers responding to a domestic violence call. The female half of that domestic violence incident is safely with us. Whether or not there could potentially be somebody inside, that is possible. We are still going to need to search and go through all the neighboring apartments to confirm we don't have any injuries or anybody else that may have.
Scott, for the last few minutes now, just as we were talking, we've heard a number of things. Any more clarification from what you've heard here right now?
So the information that I've been given is that this person has been firing sporadically throughout the entire incident. And so it was very important for us to obviously get all of our assets into position to try to mitigate.
But this is a high-powered rifle. It's got some range.
Absolutely, and that's why we're trying to keep everybody, whether you're on the 2400 block of Curlew, whether you're on the 2400 block of Brant, whether you're on the 2400 block of Albatross, to stay inside of your apartments, stay inside your homes. Do not come to the windows. Do not try to go and look and see what the sounds are and what the officers may or may not be doing in your area.
The relationship of the woman to the suspect?
I can't confirm that information, unfortunately. It's a domestic violence call. There was some sort of relationship between.
Was the police dog injured?
At this point, we have no information on any injuries, and we hope that stays the same.
Including with the suspect injuries. No information on injuries.
Correct. At this point, I have no information on any injuries.
Just the arriving officers returned fire, and we're talking about the initial incident. Can you, we came on the air, could you just review that for us?
So when the officers first approached, it's in on the rooftop is the apartment. They had to exit an elevator. When they walked up to the apartment, they tried to make contact inside of the apartment. They believed that he was inside, or there may have somebody inside. When they were up into the apartment, rounds came out from a room or a bathroom in the apartment through a door, nearly hitting the officer. So we're talking within inches of hitting the officer. So we're extremely thankful at this point that it appears we don't have any injuries. We hope that it ends that way.
The door wasn't open. He fired through the door at the closed door. He fired through a closed door at the officers. How was he aware they were there?
Well, it's a great question. And I don't have the answer to that. It was an interior door. It was not an exterior door.
Now, how did was the woman already gone at that point? Meaning outside?
So when the officers arrived, they were able to make contact with the female half of the incident.
So she had exited the apartment?
Again, you're hearing Lieutenant Scott Wahl right now. He's giving us an update of the situation here at 2400 Brant Street.
Before they actually went to the apartment?
Correct. And the exact nature of what happened prior to the officers arriving on scene is unknown at this point. We're still trying to investigate and find out what the nature of the incident was prior to our arrival.
Did those officers return fire?
Our officers have returned fire.
The
initial officers, absolutely. In retreating and trying to get themselves into a position of safety and avoid being struck themselves.
Were they inside the apartment by then themselves?
Their exact location, Pauline, I don't know at this point. I've got very little information.
Door, we'd have to go through a whole room, get out
Correct.
the exit door.
I believe at this point, when they got there, they were able to make some form of entry into the apartment. At what point and how big that apartment is and where the door was that was closed that they fired at, I don't know.
But right now they have the guy surrounded around the apartment or in the apartment?
So we have the suspect inside of his apartment. It's on the southeast side of the building. And we have SWAT officers that are surrounding that apartment.
You've talked about sheltering in place, especially for people outside. What about the people inside the apartment? I would assume there wasn't time to evacuate them and they were told to stay inside as well?
So initially, what we did was we tried to contain the situation so that it doesn't continue to move into other neighboring homes and apartments. We were able to evacuate some of the neighboring apartments. And at this point, we feel we have the scene contained and the suspect isolated. But what we don't want is people coming out of their homes a half a block or a block down the street and coming out into the street thinking it's okay out there, because as we were hearing the rounds going off, it's still extremely dangerous and a very dangerous environment for them to be in.
Okay. Thank you so much, Scott. All right, so there you heard Lieutenant Scott Wahl giving us the situation, and it sounds like that police officers do have this man contained in his apartment. Now, while we were talking to Scott, we heard a number of loud noises again, probably about 5 or 6 that I counted in just the few moments that we were speaking with Scott Wahl. Now, he was not able to clarify whether those were gunshots or flashbangs being fired or the gas gun. Right now it is an active situation here, and he's here with us trying to give us information as that is going on. So he's going to go and kind of clarify what those